Good evening. Good evening. Hey, how's everybody doing? I'm so sorry. Ronnie and I were sitting there having a good old conversation. He was giving me all of his trade secrets. Uh, so uh, we're running a minute behind, but so the flow. I figured you would have to dilute that with Floetrol and everything for sure, and all. But that's
Yeah, the
I'm
one.
always a fan of like an automotive
Mhm.
primer and paint for the finish. I have never tried a latex
Yeah,
or that's
that's
why I
what
was
this
curious.
guy out on the West Coast does with all his,
Yeah,
and so I figured, well, never having been down this path, I'll go with somebody who has the experience. Now, the border and the tops of the letters, that's all using an oil-based product called One Shot. I think they've been around since the '60s,
nice,
and
nice. And for those of you that are just coming on, what we're talking about is Ron has made a beautiful big sign, 3 foot by 7 foot HDU foam sign, inch and a half thick, right? Inch
mhm,
and a half thick.
yeah,
And he shared some pictures with me. It had a nice faux wood grain background throughout the sign, and raised letters and everything, and it was phenomenal. And so I was stealing all of his trade secrets, trying
yeah,
to pull that out of him. But tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about signs, and we're going to be talking about projects and all kind of for the holidays. And I honestly want to take you through my workflow on how I'm utilizing AI, and how I'm coming up with things for the projects that I'm producing and everything. Now, first things first, let me get something out of the way. Don't make fun of my glasses. This is actually a string right here holding my glasses on. I broke the arm off, and I got to go to the eye doctor tomorrow to get some new glasses. But I got a string tied around my head to hold the glasses on. So if you're wondering, that's not a fancy looking frame. That's an actual piece of yarn or whatever thread. So, but I want to take y'all through. I put out a Christmas holiday pack, a discounted pack that was available for sale. Some of you may have seen me post that in the Facebook group and in the community chat page and everything. And I want to take you through how I made those. And we're gonna literally start from scratch. And let me grab these other two gentlemen here that are waiting in the background. Hello, Mr. Charlie Hall, and hello, JR. How you doing?
Hi, Laney.
And in the community and chat. The bear with me just a second here. Through how I made those, so we don't have an echo. I got somebody. And let me grab these other two gentlemen. Charlie, I might have. Let me see if that's background. Hello, Mr. Charlie Hall, and hello, JR. How you doing? It is Mr. JR. JR, I'm going to mute you for just a second. But hopefully you guys are doing well. So I want to take you through. I made this project pack, this holiday pack, and I put it out there for sale. And then I thought, you know what? My exclusive members and all, I actually want to show them the making. Let's start from scratch and let's make one and go through the process and everything and show exactly how I designed and created those designs and everything. And so with that being said, gentlemen, let's get rocking and rolling. Let's get started on this. I'm going to share my screen, an entire screen. And let's share this screen right here. And we were just talking about faux wood grain with Ronnie and I just happen to have a faux wood grain sign right there on the screen. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. Now, this is a very simple V-carve sign with a wood grain element. And Ronnie, I don't know if you did the same thing and all, but this is just an image found online of wood grain, a nice wood grain border, wood grain pattern, and then it was brought in and scaled up to fit across the sign, and then whatever the words were, they were offset to kind of clear away that grain around those letters and all. And ladies and gentlemen, when Google is your best friend when you're searching for graphics and everything. And, with things like this, it's very straightforward. Wood grain vector. Or if I wanted, let's say I wanted a real distressed look or something, I actually like this to search the term grunge vector. And there's some really cool grunge designs that just look distorted and everything. And now they take forever for Vectric to trace the patterns and everything, to trace the image to turn them in vectors. And it's really taxing on the computer and everything, those grunge patterns and all. But they come out really cool signs. It just looks like the sign, like the paint has been chipped or distorted, or nail patterns or whatever the case may be. It just looks grungy, right? And but that wood grain vector, grunge vector, typing in what you're looking for, followed by the keyword vector, that'll get you some results. And then of course whatever images you find, depending on the source that you find them from, you can obtain those and bring them in and scale them up and all. And that's all that this was. And so the image that for this wood grain vector, if I import, let me see, I don't think I still have it. Let me see if I turn it on. Yeah, so this little square pattern, it's very lightly gray here, but this little guy right here ended up being this guy right here. And it ended up being, after it was traced and everything, it was, of course, scaled up and then stretched to, fit the size of the board and everything. And now it looks really weird because it's kind of a grayscale image, but it traces. Let me see here. If we go into the bitmap trace tool and convert it to a black and white, it darkens up a little bit. And on here, if I go down into the 50 and the 75 that I normally like, nothing comes up. So I really got to come in, kind of high, but I can't come in too high because then it starts to distort, right? Get all kinds of trash. So, pulling this in, probably about, it was a 95. And I actually, instead of going with the normal, like I love a default corner fit on the images, actually, I actually went loose on this. I went down to, it was like a 35, and went loose on it so that I knew I was going to scale up. So it was a little loose on it created a little bit of a wider, better pattern. But I did turn up the noise filter because this was a very poor quality image to begin with. Right. So very, jaggedy and pixelated and everything. So when I traced, I turned that filter up quite a bit. And when, I traced that, it kind of gave me, smooth lines, fairly smooth lines and everything, even though the pattern that it was drawing around was really bad. The line smoothed out by turning that noise filter up quite a bit. And then, of course, bringing down that corner fit, that loose, giving it a real looseness, so it's not so tight and rigid. Now, once that pattern was brought in and everything, then, sometimes, like, it could be a seamless pattern where you take it end to end and everything. And I didn't want to do that in this instance. I wanted to come in here and just scale it up. So I scaled it up to the size that it needed to be. Stretched it out and everything. And if you notice here, I've got this rectangle out here, but I also put a rectangle. It's not there right now, but I put a rectangle that was the same perimeter as the board, because let me take this pattern here for a second, just move it for a minute. When I brought this over the board, I kind of stretched it to where it overhung and everything, not too much. I didn't want to, lose too much of the detail and all. And I didn't go too crazy with stretching it past the size. I kind of, I want to bring it in something like that. But the rectangle that I brought in that was the size of the board, let me do two things here. One, let me bring this down for a minute. Number two, let me actually put the rectangle in there first. And again, this one was the size of the actual board. And then I'll center this on the board. There we go. On that trimming tool, that trim tool, selecting this vector first and then coming in here and selecting this rectangle last, clearing outside of that boundary, it was able to go through and remove everything outside of that boundary. So the grain did run right to the end of the board, and I didn't have it go past. I had it stop right at the end and everything, and that gave me my pattern. Now I did take that rectangle and offset it outward because I did want, you know, when I was doing the carving and all the raised carving of the letters and all, I wanted to clear up the edges. So I did offset that outward a small amount to give me, so the bit could just go past the edge and clean it up. And the number that I picked, it was, you know, kind of like a 32nd or whatever. It could be any number, whatever size, just so that the bit tip has to go past the edge to clean it up when it's doing those raises. Now, the important thing was the lettering and stuff. So on this pattern, the very first thing is to make sure that we have just the grain pattern selected and not the two rectangular vectors and all. And G for group, or use the group tool, but group them together. We don't want to have to be messing with them after we get the font and stuff in there. Now, the text that I used in that one sign was a Merry Christmas, but let's do just something a little different on this example. And I'm just going to say, let it snow. And I'll do exclamation, let it snow. And let's size this up to 3 inches. I said 3 and typed 4. And let's center it onto the board. And then I'm going to actually stretch it a little bit. Now, on this particular sign, I'm not doing any borders or anything, or, you know, raise where it's inside of the border. I'm milling the whole surface off and to where just the letters are raised, to where just the words are raised and everything. And so now it's important. This is the next step. We're going to offset the text, offset it outward, however far you want, so that the bit doesn't come in and you know, cut into the letters and all. And here's how you determine that. Whatever V bit that you're using, whatever angle of the V bit you're using, you draw that out on your screen, and then draw a line at the tip, and then you make that line move up that bit to determine, you know, how deep you want to cut. In my case, I went 3/16 of an inch deep. So let's do exactly what I'm talking about. I was using a 60-degree V bit. So right anywhere on the screen, doesn't matter where, but draw out a 60-degree bit, space bar to finish. Draw a line. It doesn't matter how long the line is, but draw a line straight out. And what this is supposed to emulate is the V bit zeroed out on the top of a piece of wood, right? So, you know, just like it's sitting right there on the top of the surface of the wood. Now, let's say that my cut depth is going to be 3/16 of an inch. So I'm going to make a relative move on that line up 0.1875, not a zero there, 0.1875. And now what this represents is when my bit is actually cutting into the surface by that 3/16 of an inch, where the tip of the bit is in relationship to where the edge of the bit that's right at the top of our board there, that offset distance, that's when it cuts that 3/16 of an inch deep, that angle on the letters, your top of your letters down to the bottom of, you know, the pocket that's getting cut, that's the angle. That's the 60-degree, and that's the offset distance. That's literally the offset distance. So when I'm cutting grain and everything, I want my other bit to stop at this point or slightly before. You know, I don't want the bit cutting into the side of my letters and stuff. And imagine this being the side of your letters at that 3/16 of an inch deep. You want that bit when it's coming into cutting to stay away from those letters so it doesn't cut into them. And so what we do is we measure from the horizontally from the tip of the bit to the intersection. And that magic number, that offset number, that's our distance that we want to, offset our letters. So if 1083, so if I come over here and I select my text, I don't want my bit coming in and cutting into that side of that text on those angled walls and everything. So I need to offset at least at a minimum 0.1083. But in this case, I'm actually going to go 0.11. So I'm going to round up a little bit. And so we're going to offset that, select the new, make sure that's selected because it selects it. And then while it's selected, I'm going to go ahead and close this tool, single click on that and hit G for group. I like a keyboard shortcut, but I can also hit the group button. Now I'm ready to clear out the text. Select the grain first, hold the shift key down, select that offset last, and come down here to this little barber pole trim tool, clear inside of the boundary this time. Hit clear and let it go to work. Let me hide this little stop sharing thing. Hello, Blaze. How you doing? Let's see here. Got a few. I am live, right? Yeah. Just making sure. All right. So now, important, on that offset, it served its purpose. Now, you got two choices at this point. Delete it or move it to another layer, right? And I'll just call this my offset vectors. And then uncheck the, I'll even give it a different color or something, but uncheck those two so they're not active and get rid of them. And now I've got that, grain cleared away from that letters. And when we do the carving, we do the raised carving first. So the grain doesn't even come into the tool path until the last thing and everything. But now when the bit is coming in and cutting that wood grain or whatever it is, whatever the pattern is, it will not cut into those side walls of the letters at that 3/16 of an inch deep. So let's do the tool path here. So it's a V carve tool path, and I'm going to go 0, starting at 0. I'm going 1875, 60-degree V bit. I am going to use 2 bits. I like 2 clearance tools around some of the smaller areas and stuff. I'll use a 1/4 inch end mill and an 1/8 inch end mill, but I'm going to select my text and this far outside border. I want the bit to come past the edge and clean up that pocket. That's going to be calculated. And one thing I do want to change, I want to go back and fix. I want to raster cut. I want to cut with the direction of the grain. I don't want to go around and around. I want to eliminate any kind of tool mark cleanup that I got that I might have to deal with. So I'm going to raster cut this, and I'm going to raster along that grain. So calculate that. And let me preview that visible tool path. And what that's going to do, I don't have the animation on and everything, but it's going to remove that 3/16 of an inch material. And my little edge right there should not be there. So let me say that I did not go out far enough with my little offset there. So let me offset that a little bit further out. That was too close. So let's go here and let me delete those for right now. Delete those 2 lines. All right, one more time. We're going to select that and this boundary and recalculate that. And that should clean up that edge. All right, so this is going to be my sign, just a simple sign. Everything is milled down except for the raised letters. And now I'm actually, Ronnie, when he did his grain on his HDU we were talking about earlier, he used a tapered ball nose. And that's a great idea because the tapered ball nose gives you that nice little rounded bottom, more so than a choppy bottom and everything like that. And looks good. So we'll look at it both ways. With the original sign that I did, that one preview that you saw was with a V bit. Let's go through, turn off the text, turn off that boundary. I'll do it both ways, and then we'll look at it with the ball nose, and we'll look at it with a V-bit. So it is going to be a V-carve. I still do it as a V-carve. There will be no clearance tool on this one, and it's going to be starting at 0, not starting at 0, that's a lie, starting at 0.1875, 3/16. And then on this one, the wood grain, it's going to be cutting between the lines, so there's nothing going to be really deep there. So no flat depth on this. Using the 60-degree V-bit first, we'll look at that one first. And continue. I'll look at, all right, so I've got some open vectors. We got to clean those out. So let's hit cancel. Got some open vectors that got drawn in there. So right click, select vectors, all open. And I don't want to delete those. I want to just go to the join tool. I got 45 of them open, and they are, when I hit join, it's only going to join 4 of those, and the rest are going to be open. So let's go ahead and get those 4 done, and then let's find out here, select vectors all open, and let's take a look at, all right, so the trim, when the letters trimmed on this one here and everything, it did not close them off. That's a weird one. I don't know why it didn't close them off. Hey, Michael Murphy, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Thanks for joining us and everything. Don't know why those didn't close off, but that's okay. We're going to sit here and literally, it's literally just straight lines on each of those. And let me see if it'll let me do this. Let me see if it'll let me do this. I don't think it will. I think it's going to make me do them one at a time. And that is true. All right, so we got to go in here, and I'm just going to close these off. So unfortunately, that was not intended, but it's one of those things where life hands you lemons. And what I'm going to do, so I don't have to keep selecting or trying to find these and everything, I'm going to go over here and select vectors all open one more time. I'm going to hit G for group. So now they're all grouped together. There's only a few of them. But now I can come in here and I can ungroup. Come on now, stop. Ungroup. I'll turn this one off because I got my eyes focused on it. Regroup the others. And then I can come in here and join with a straight line. And then come back and I'll be able to select my group again. Where is it hiding? This is where keyboard shortcuts come in easy for me. U for ungroup. Turn this off. G for group. And select that. Join with a straight line. Come back here. And let's start working our way over here. U for ungroup. We'll turn this one off. And actually, I'll do these 3 kind of together. So those 3, I know where they are. G for group to group the rest, so I don't have to hunt them down. I'll select this. Join with a straight line twice because it's actually both ends. I think when I trimmed, I might not have had the button checked to connect everything after trimming, and that's why I'm dealing with this headache right now. But it is what it is. And you just got to kind of deal with it. From there, come back in and select my group. I'm going to do these next 3. So U for ungroup. I'm going to turn off this one, that, this, and that. G for group. And I'm going to have to just work my way down. So straight line, 1, 2. 1. You're always gonna, you're always gonna end up running into situations where something's gonna something's gonna happen, and you gotta go in and clean it up, and just you gotta deal with it. So I'm gonna do these 3 now. That'll be the last 3 for that top row, and then I only have 3 down here, or 3 or 4 down at the bottom. So once again, to ungroup, I'm going to click to turn those lines off, those and those, keeping my mouse right where I need it so I know where I'm at. G for group to group the rest back. Select these 2 lines. Join with a straight line. You could also join with a smooth curve too if you want to make it a little bit more organic. You can use the, join with a smooth curve and stuff like that too. Doesn't always have to be a straight line. And then let's finish this one up. All right, now coming back down here, I just got to, I can see my open lines. I can see where they are, right? So click on this, and I'll do these 3 first. So hold down the ungroup, or not hold down, but the letter U on the keyboard, or now that right there, I'll just delete that. But I'll keep these 2 and those 2. Let's turn this one on because I'll delete it. But G for group, and that groups the rest that are still selected together. So straight line. This one just gets deleted out of there, and then come over here, and don't forget this one. And again, something occurred when something occurred. All right, so coming through here and everything, I have just these last 4, 5 right there. So I'll do all of those together, and they're just right in that line. I can see which ones are open there. So U for ungroup, and it won't let me when I have multiple, lines selected at a time. So you got to kind of do it, work your way over. Doom, click, 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 click. Work your way through. Click, click. One more. And that one should be just 1 on the end. All right. So now right click on the screen, select all vectors, all open. And I still got this. Going to delete those. Let's see. Right click, select all open vectors. Of course, 1083 is my magic number, but let's try that again. There should be none at this point. There we go. Okay. So once again, we come back in here. Let's turn off the text and the border. Calculate the toolpath. Let's go to the vector validator and see. I think I've got some zero link spans to deal with. So let's fix up those 3. And then I've got 4 overlaps. Let me see where they're hiding. Right up here. Not even going to deal with that one. Right here. Easy enough. Those 2, let's not have them selected together. Node editing. Work with me. Quit fighting with me. Let me find out who is who. Figure out who goes with who and who belongs with what. Let's just. Ooh. I don't want to delete him. He's a decent size. Oh, that was supposed to be delete point, not smooth point. All right, so one more time. Vector validator. One more to deal with. Now this one, there's really nothing there in a sense. And the on this note, I'm just going to delete that point. And he's still there. So he's going to argue with me on this one. All right. Node editing. I'm going to back up here. I'm going to cut the vector here, cut it here, and I'm going to delete that section. And then I'm going to rejoin it with a straight line. And did I correct it or not? Let's find out. All right. Oh, it's a different one. I was about to say now. Same thing. I'm going to go node editing because it's kind of a, it's a little bit of a, it's a little bit of a hidden, there's nothing there. And it's weird. We can't see it and everything. So I'm going to cut the vector here, cut it here. It's an anomaly. Don't know where or why. All right. Join with a straight line, and that should, I say that like I'm confident. I am confident. I'm not that confident. All right. Oh, it's a different line now. Now, at this point, I'm not going to play too much with that. I am going to go into node editing on this one, and all it is the line is just kind of, it's there's a lot of points overlapping each other here. And I'm going to pull that back. All I'm doing is opening that grain up a little bit. Okay. Wonderful. All right. Wow. Lord. Okay, here we go. Turn off the text one last time. Turn this off and calculate this toolpath. And I didn't need to go in and clean up those little things, but you know, it's good practice. All right. Preview the visible toolpath. Now this is with the V-bit. This is the 60-degree V-bit going in and cutting that wood grain. And if we zoom in and everything, you can see that we're not cutting into that angle coming down and everything. We're cutting right up to it, you know, but just because it was 0.1083 and I went 0.11, right? You know, on my offset in those lines. So it went right up to it, but not into it. So no cuts into the text and everything. Nice and clean. And it gives us that. Now, let's take that same set of vectors and let's look at that with a V-carve toolpath, but this time a ball nose bit. And I'm going to use a small fine tip ball nose bit. It could be a 16th, 32nd, whatever. I'm going to use a 16th. Ronnie, did you use a 16th or a 32nd with yours?
It was a 16th.
Nice. Okay, so we're going to calculate that. All right, now this is the wrong toolpath. Give me a second here. What do I have selected here? Yep, calculate. I want to see where it's thinking it's wanting to cut through. It's giving a warning that it wants to cut through somewhere, but I don't see that. Let's undo the last, preview the visible. I just want to see where it's going to cut through. All right, so a little bit of, because of the angle and it's such a small bit, it does cut deep in certain areas and all. So we've got a little bit of cut depth and everything right there. But look here, I'm not stepping over far enough to get away from, because of the taper of that angle and everything, I didn't account for that. I accounted for my 60-degree V-bit step over, but not the step over of the ball nose. So let's undo that. And we would have to, if I'm going to use that ball nose at that depth, I would have to draw it out just like I drew out the V-bit and figure out what the offset is, and I'd have to create that offset. We're not going to go through that. We'll just keep it as a V-bit. Just know that offset your vectors and then trim, do that inside trim, offset your text by whatever the taper of that ball nose bit is and everything. So this was calculated for a 60-degree V-bit offset at 3/16. It's a little bit different with the ball nose. So that's all right. We'll just use the V-bit for our wood grain for this sign so we can move on. But there you go. So, and we do have some, hold on a second. Reset the preview. 1, 2, 3, 4. Preview the visible toolpath. I still had those holes cutting in from the other toolpath there. There we go. All right, so there's our sign. Nice little faux wood grain with those raised letters. And where this came from, ladies and gentlemen, where the inspiration came from was I like searching country wood signs, Christmas wood signs, milk store wood signs, or like country store wood signs, all these little terms, wood signs, this wood sign, Eastern wood signs, whatever, Easter, not Eastern, but all these things, and that gives me a wide variety, and I love looking at these images and getting inspiration and everything. And as I was scrolling through these images online, I came across one that was sitting on like a mantle. Let me see if I can quickly run into it. Right here. So, and I liked the cross on Christmas and Merry Christmas and everything, but I liked the way this looked. Now, this is letters that are cut out and glued to this backboard. They're not carved and raised up or anything. They're cut out. This word's cut out. These are cut out, and they're glued to this nice, backboard that's stained and everything to kind of match the mail. But I liked the way that looked. I liked the letters raised on just a simple, plain board. They popped the kind of the texture with the, their stain and everything. And I just liked the way that looked. And so that's what led me to this on the Merry Christmas, and then now the Let It Snow and that kind of thing. So that was really cool. Now let's take a quick look at, let's pull open a folder. Do I have? Do I have Christmas? And let's look at these signs. All right, check this out. So on this project pack that I'm releasing and all, we have, some signs like Rudolph on the welcome sign. We have this magic of, believe in the magic of Christmas. We did that the other night for you guys and everything. And then let's go the other way. We had this Rudolph on a wreath, kind of welcome sign. Santa, on a welcome sign. We had this Merry Christmas in a frame. We had this Merry Christmas without a frame. And then we had some other, projects and things like that. And on these wreaths and Santa and Rudolph and everything, I want to walk you through how that got made, how it got created and everything. Now, believe it or not, it was AI. It wasn't me. right? No, don't. Just kidding. That's let me find here and here. Believe it or not, these started off as an illustration. And really quickly, got a note here. I also took the wood grain image and imported it as a 3D model. And there you go. All right, excellent. So that's also a different way. There you go, as a 3D model. Based on the previous text class. Awesome. There you go. So thanks for sharing that with the crowd. But these images started out as an illustration. So let's look at my history, my illustration history here. And let's look at the images that were generated. So I had, Santa's, I had the Merry Christmas sign, Rudolph and everything. And literally the prompt to these was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer smiling gleefully in the Christmas spirit. Jolly smiling Santa head with high detail and contrast. The text words Merry Christmas with a Merry on top of Christmas in a decorative manner. Put some holly and berries, around it. So that's what that said. But these prompts, and here's a beautiful Christmas wreath made of fir pine needles with wide circular center hole. And then the other one was a beautiful wreath with a hollow center, but it ended up, I said holly in there, and holly and berries, and it was too spiky. I thought it was too dangerous. So, the pine needles. But literally, that was the prompt. So now I want to do one. We're going to do a new one because I want Frosty the Snowman. Okay, so it's going to be simply, here's the prompt. We're going to do Frosty the Snowman with a corn cob pipe and a smile. One hand tipping his hat at the camera. Okay, that's it. So now, of course, you could, you get much more elegant results and all if you do much more elegant prompts and everything. But I want to show you a simplistic, just very few words and all what we can do. Now on this, we can either do a 1x1, 16x9, ultra wide, and all that stuff. So it can, whatever you want. If you do a 1-to-1, it's going to be square, and then if you're going to go square, then you got to kind of think about the project. Is the project going to be a rectangular project? Do you need this to have some kind of a background? Are we just taking Frosty, and that kind of thing? So you can think about what your aspect ratio should be. And I'm actually just going to go 1-to-1 on this because I just want Frosty. Whatever background is around him and all, I'll end up removing. Goodbye. So we're going to do, let's do 2 different variations, and we're going to hit generate. This is, by the way, Galaxy AI. You've heard me talk about Galaxy AI in the past. And this is Galaxy AI. I'm using 0.10, 0.10 of my 108.69 million credits. You get free credits every day if you go in and click on that button and all there. But this is going to take just a second to generate. It doesn't take that long at all. Give it just a moment to work its magic. And then we're going to move to the step 2 and 3. And while we wait, let me see if there's any questions. And if y'all have any questions about anything, be sure to definitely ask them in the chat. Let me see if anybody's privately chatting. I probably should have just said generate one. Oh, with one canned. Hold on a second. Oh, that's probably why he's struggling. It's because I didn't spell hand correctly. One hand. Let me see
Hey,
if I
Laney,
can.
Laney, I had a quick question for you. If you can hear
Yep,
me.
go for it.
Yeah, you know, when you're measuring those offsets on the measure tool, you have horizontal, vertical, all the different options.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it seems odd to me in my mind that that's a horizontal measurement, you know, because I think a
Oh,
horizontal is going
yeah,
straight across. And I
yes,
always
we'll come
wondered
back
about
there. Yep, we'll come back there and let me explain to you how that's a horizontal measurement. Give me just a
okay,
second. Frosty the Snowman with a, let me get my spelling right this time, with a corn cob pipe and a smile with one hand tipping his hat towards the camera. All right. Let's generate that. And while that's generating, let's go back over here and let's explain why that is a horizontal measurement. So the first of all, the 60 degree, let's get the 60 degree back in there. Oh, space bar, come out straight across here. Space bar, move that line up relative 0.1875. Okay. So the measurement that we need, and let me just draw this out. The measurement we need is, if I drew a straight line here and a straight line here, we need the measurement between these two lines. And so that is a horizontal measurement when we go from here to here, you know, and we're measuring. What's confusing is when we go up, when you see click here and then we go up into this direction and click on there, right? So it looks like you're going at an angle. And all
yeah,
we're measuring is the offset distance horizontally.
okay, yeah,
Okay, so we
because it
need the
looks like you're
distance
doing more of a
between,
diagonal measurement, but I see
right, it
what you're
looks like
saying.
more of a diagonal, but we're, you know, we are, we need to know like the relationship from the tip of the bit to where this intersection is. What is that offset distance here? And so
Gotcha.
that's a
Perfect.
horizontal measurement. Does that make
Thank you,
sense?
sir. Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right, no problem. All right, let's go back and see what we have generated. All right, that's all right. So it's literally, it took me a little bit serious on a corn cob pipe there and everything. Now I'm going to change that up just for really quickly. I want a headshot. I just want to kind of like a headshot of that. Head shot of Frosty the Snowman. Here we go. Let's do this. Let's get rid of the corncob pipe. Smiling gleefully. Did I spell gleefully correct? No. Gleefully. With one hand, those are sticks. Tipping is at the camera. Let's try that again and let's see what we come up with. A headshot. I kind of want that close up of Frosty. That was a good, it wasn't too shabby and all. We could have made a nice little model out of that and everything. And it's in my history. That one is in my history as well. But there we go. That'll be good enough. All right. So there's my image. I got that more, you know, that gleeful smile and everything. It's funny that his hands, and it's got little gloves only on a couple of parts of the branches, but that's, we can deal with that because we might trim some of that out or something along the line, but that'll work. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to download that. And on that, we're going to go over to show it in the folder. We're going to right click and rename it. This is the workflow. I'm going to call it Frosty the Snowman, and enter to lock that in. Now I'm going to go, and he is a decent size. He's not bad at all as far as the graphic size, the image size and everything. But my next thing that I want to do is I want to up upscale him. So and everything. And I'm going to, when I take it over to the upscaler here, I'm actually going to upscale the image that I saved. I could have just, my workflow, I could have just brought it right in here and not saved it yet to the computer, but let's just, I'll just bring in the you know, from the device, I'll bring in the computer that, or the image that I saved. But yes, I could have just clicked the plus sign and brought it right over. I don't know what I was thinking. All right, so hit done. And Topaz AI is perfect for the upscaler. And I want to go 3 times larger. You can go up to 4 times larger. And I want to generate this. All this is going to do, if I had a blurry image, like a low scale blurry image, the upscaler, man, it sharpens up the detail and makes it, you know, a large format, high resolution image and everything. It really, really, really does a great job of making that cleaner and larger and everything. So this is going to make Frosty really, really pop and everything. Now I'm going to download this. I jumped the gun on the download earlier. I'm going to go into here, and this one is going to be Frosty. Oh. Frosty the Snowman. Upscaled. All right. Now, once I have the graphic, and again, this is how it starts and everything. Now, the next step, I'm going to take it over to the image editor inside of Galaxy AI. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to load up the Frosty upscaled image here. Okay, so this one, him being upscaled 3 times, exceeded the file size. So I'm gonna, I want to, let me go back and let me just do it twice the size instead of 3 times. So I'm going to grab the original Frosty and I'm going to do double size. That there's a lot of background and stuff in there, so it made them just, it made the file too large. 3 times the size was too large. And this is only using 0.05 million points. My 108 million, so it's very small amount. There we go. All right, one more time. Let's download and Frosty upscaled 2x. All right, now let's go over to the image editor and upload. Okay. Now here on Nana Banana is phenomenal. We're going to leave it right at Nana Banana. It's great for what we're about to do. But if you remember the class we had, or the class we talked about when Becky made that prompt for making 3D models, and we did it in a class where we had I had the little canine police dog that was, chasing a guy up a tree and all that stuff, a couple weeks back. Well, we're going to use that same prompt and let me see here. We're going to use that same prompt, but we're going to change the wording slightly on some of this. We're going to copy this and we're going to paste it here. And this time on this where it says create a high resolution grayscale image that is framed in an oval. I'm just going to say a grayscale image. I'm getting rid of the oval frame and everything must be contained in the frame. I'm getting rid of that. Delete. Create a high resolution grayscale image. Please include, and we're going to get rid of all the include stuff because we're going to please include the referenced, the image that we uploaded, the referenced image, and then get rid of this texture, delete. Please include the referenced image in the highest possible contrast based on a bas relief model for CNC. Everything else that Beck had written, that prompt we were talking about gets used. So create a high resolution image, grayscale image. Please include the referenced image in the highest possible contrast for CNC machining. Make it well balanced, good light, sharp contours as if it was made out of clay, all that good stuff. So that's our prompt. Now, for those of you that do not have that prompt because you weren't in that class or anything like that, I'm going to copy and paste it into the chat. You can keep, most of it, but change what you need to change. But where it says high resolution grayscale image, keep that. If you want it framed or not framed, that's fine. If it's going to be framed, then everything must be contained in the frame. Keep that phrase. But if there's no frame, get rid of it. Please include, and then from that point, you tell it what you want. A donkey riding a mule or whatever. I don't care what your prompt is. What do you want them to make? In the highest resolution possible, in the highest possible contrast representing, not resolution, forget what I said, in the highest possible contrast representing a bas relief model for CNC machining. The image must be extremely clear. All of that stuff from where it says in the highest possible contrast down, keep it all. Keep everything. So I'm going to copy this into the chat. Hopefully it's not too many letters. No, okay, let me put it in there. That's your prompt. You change what you need to change for as far as what it is. All right, so did I paste my prompt in there? I did. Okay, I pasted my prompt in there. All right, so now we're going to come down and we're going to generate that edit. Nano Banana. Nano Banana is fabulous for these type of projects, ladies and gentlemen. Nano Banana is a Gemini, Google Gemini modeler, and it is amazing. There's our grayscale. Wonderful. All right, we're going to download that. It looks like that's going to make an awesome model. Now, I could have said, ladies and gentlemen, I could have said remove the background, delete the background, just keep Frosty, all of that stuff and everything. If I don't want the background when I create the model in this final step, when I create the actual 3D model, then I can, what can I do? I can cut out, that model in the final step when I bring it into Aspire or what have you. If I want to keep that and see what it does, it's going to make little dimples and all that stuff. All those little things are going to be high res and all. But if I don't want that, I could have added in the prompt to remove the falling snow and background sky in the prompt and everything. But since it's here, I do have a background remover, and I don't know how well it will capture the grayscale in the background remover. Let's find out. Remove.bg. Now, I'm using remove.bg outside of Galaxy, but Galaxy has their own background remover. I haven't used it because I have this background remover. And let me see here. There we go. Easy peasy. Okay. So it removes that background, and then from there, I can bring it into the model. Now I will keep both copies. And on this one, I do pay as you go, and I've already used all of my credits, ladies and gentlemen. So I need to buy 10 more because I use them. I buy 10 at a time. It's $9. I don't do the monthly subscription. No, I pay as you go, and I only pay as I need them and everything. So let me really quickly, let me pull this over onto the other screen so I can get my credits really quickly. I forgot that I used my last one the moment ago. Stand by. Pay. Okay. All right, so now I can, what that does, I could have downloaded a 500 by 500, but I want my large quality image, right? So I want to download my high resolution image and everything. All right, now I have this with the background saved, and I have it without the background, right? I have both options with me. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, is that final web page. I know there's a lot of steps, but this is the workflow. So we're going to go to Sculpt OK. You should know that from the last class. Sculpt OK, image generator. Let me make sure you guys aren't messaging me or something. Okay, that was my payment notification. All right, so we're going to import. Let's do the one without the background first. And so it's this one here that has the remove.bg. I am going to bring it in. I'm going to rename it real quick. So this is Frosty remove BG. And let me rename this one. Frosty Grayscale. I have a folder called Virus Quarantine. Every one of my images that download go into this folder, and I'll end up scanning them, or you know, they'll scan and everything to make, you know, before I bring them in, just to make sure I'm not bringing anything into my computer from any weird site or something that I might be on. So I call it, it's on my desk. I call it a folder. It's my quarantine folder. All right, so let's go in here and open this up. I don't know why I just closed it, because I was already in there. And let's go without the background first. Color image, even though it's a grayscale, it is a color image. We're going to come down here and draw this out. Now, what we're looking for on the grayscale side of this, ladies and gentlemen, what we're looking for is the whites are the highest part of the model, blacks are the deepest part of the models, and that gray, you know, that from that white to black, we want that best detail, whichever one's going to bring out the best detail. So let me explain to you what you're seeing on the screen. Image number 1 in the top left corner, 2 blown out. 2, it's all white. There's no detail. There's no depth or anything in there. It's all blown out. Number 2, getting better. Now it always gives us 4, you know, images and everything. Number 2 is getting better. We have a little bit of contrast there between the whites, the high part of the model, and the blacks, the dark part of the model, but still a little bit blown out on some of this detail. Now, I don't know why it is, but it's always, you know, 3 and 4 that are going to give us the best representation and everything, with the whites and the darks and everything, you know, that graduation. 4 will give us a really nice result, but 3 sometimes is always better and all. But when we're looking at this, you know, in Sculpt OK, when I do this, preview this without the watermark and all, it's going to assume that I'm about to make it as a model. So it's 18 points to make the model. And so when I come in here, it says download the image without the watermark for 18 points. If I don't download it, there's no charge. I know it doesn't charge me the 18 points. It's just saying, hey, just know if you download it, you're gonna get charged. All right, so in here, this is where it creates the 3D model. And let's zoom in, and we can rotate this around, but let's turn it sideways so you can kind of see the depth and everything on this model, right? The depth and detail. And you can see the sides and everything on here. I don't know how well it comes up on screen, but if I wanted to, now I always keep the background, but in the side over here, I do have the choice of removing the background, you know, base removal. The only thing I don't like about that, I want to actually remove the base in Vectric. I want to remove the base in Vectric because on the base removal, it doesn't give me nice edges and everything. I want to be able to clean that and do that in Vectric Aspire or Vectric VCarve. Well, Aspire, it's got to be Aspire in this situation. VCarve, I could do it in VCarve as well, but I have to, it's clipping. But I want to do that removal there. So I leave the base on, that's the background and everything, because I can create a cleaner edge with the Vectric Trace tool. You'll see that in just a second. Now up here, if we want to scale the image and everything, you can scale it to whatever size, you know, you want it to be. And what I want is I'm going to actually keep the maximum thickness at 8 millimeters, minimum at 6. But I want to come down here and scaling of the model. This is the high detail, like the resolution, if you will, 90%. I don't always go 100. It's 90%. And this is going to give us the smoothest detail and everything. On the noise filter, I always bring it up to about 10 or 15. And you don't have to drag your mouse. You can just type the number in there as well too. So I'm going to go 15 on the noise filter. Takes just a second. So 90%, this is the detail of the model, you know, the smoothness and all that 90% scaling. If it's a low scale, it's a low resolution. High scale, good resolution. And this says, you know, scale the model size, right? So denoising 15%. Now down here, the relief intensity, again, let me turn this sideways so you can kind of see what's going to happen here. The relief intensity. Now, I can either focus on dimensionality, or detail on this relief intensity, weight, and everything, which is basically, it's kind of a blend ratio of the layers and all. I focus on detail. I like detail more so than dimensionality. So I always come down to 30%. I want the focus to be on detail, not dimensionality. And again, when you play around with it, you can see as you slide the slide bar back and forth, you can see what changes and all. But I need to focus on the detail in the face, the eyes, and everything. The tree branch, the little notches and stuff and all that. I'd like to keep focusing on that. So 30%, I bring it kind of weighs heavy instead of 50. I just bring it down to there. And that's it. Download the STL. That's our model file to bring into Aspire. So now we go back into our Aspire software. We're going to create a new file. Lots of steps, but here's to go. Just real quick, a recap. Made an illustration, just a nice little colorful illustration, you know, of whatever you prompt it to do. And it was very simple. Frosty the snowman with a gleeful smile, hand up, tipping his hat to the camera. His hand didn't actually tip the hat, but it was close. It was kind of up there, you know, and all that, but still gave me a nice, you know, look. That illustration, upscaled it, made it a little bit bigger quality, better resolution and everything. Brought that into the image editor to create the grayscale using our special prompt. From there, export it out, bring it in that grayscale image into Sculpt OK to make the 3D model. And it's the same steps every single time for each one kind of thing. So here I'm going to do a sign that is 24 by 16. We'll go 1 in 4/4. Yeah, 1 inch is fine. Material surface I'll touch off on. We'll start in the bottom left corner. Now, right here, I'm going to have the model resolution at 7, but as soon as I click OK, I'm going to go right back in and hold the Shift key down. Click on here, and I'm going to change this to extremely high. Now, if this is a model that I'm selling or something, you know, that I'm going to turn around and sell it and all, then I'm going to generate it and work with it in the maximum resolution so I get the best detail possible. But if it's something for myself or whatever and I'm working on, and maybe my computer just can't quite handle the triangulation of the pixels because it's such a high resolution and everything, then that extreme is good enough. You know what I mean? So we'll just use extreme high for the video because it does slow down the computer for the stream and all that. Let me see here really quickly on this. That was the entire prompt. Create a high resolution grayscale image all the way down to the last text word, which was design with no undercuts. Design with no undercuts. So it did get that one. The whole one, Ronnie. Appreciate you. Do you see that?
No, it ends in the chat. It ends on Fluffy Highland Cow look with an eye and 3 dots. I don't
Really?
know. Yeah, that's all I see. I don't know what anyone else is seeing, but that's all I see.
Okay, so I see ... Yeah, now I did show. Okay, I see what you're seeing. Let me do that again. Here, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's make it. Give me a second. Control C. Control V. Create a high resolution grayscale image that is framed. Everything must be contained in the frame. Please include. Let's get rid of all my include stuff, and I'll make a little note that type in what you want. Let me find the highest possible contrast. Where's that word at? Snowdrifts right here. So we'll call it, put a little thing here. Describe what you want here. In the highest possible contrast, all of the rest stays there. Now, let me create a high resolution grayscale image that is, let me put a parenthesis here. Framed, everything must be included in the frame here. And I'm going to put framing is optional. We'll just do that. Okay, let's copy that. And what I'll do is I'll copy it in sections. So let's copy up to here. Copy in the chat. Paste. All right, let's see what that shows us. For CNC ... So okay, we got that. So the ... is the word machining. So we'll copy the word machining again. Let's go to effects, copy, paste. So that one cut off the first one cut off the word machining. So I put machining back in this one. For the effect. Let's see what that shows. Okay, that showed the whole text. And then copy and paste. All right, ladies and gentlemen, those last 3, create a high resolution grayscale. The machining, the second one started with machining the image must, feature. And the last one, the relief itself should be. Those are the 3. Put those together and then where the ovals are or where the parentheses are. If you don't want it framed, you can remove all that. It's optional. If you do want it framed, describe what kind of frame you want: rectangular, square, oval, shaped, starred, whatever. And everything must be contained within the frame. Very important phrase if you do have it framed. And then as far as the describe what you want. Tell it what you want. What kind of scene? What kind of, a deer trolloping through the woods with a log cabin with smoke coming out of the chimney, whatever. Describe what you want. All right. Let's go ahead and import this. We got an extremely high resolution is what we changed this to. We're going to import our model. And when it imports the model, just know that it's not named Frosty the Snowman or anything. The name that you'll find in your folder, when you're looking for that model, it's going to be a 3D model file, but it's going to say lithophane blended layers. And I'm on number 12. Number 12 is Frosty. Number 1 was something, the wreath. Number 2 was, Santa. Number 3 was blah, 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 so I'm just kind of building it up. But number 12, my last one is Frosty here. But it's called lithophane blended model layers because it's kind of like a lithophane, image. So that's Frosty. All right. So here we're going to do a front view. That's what we want. We need to, now here's the thing. My image is 24 inches by 16. So on the size here, I'm going to scale it to inches from millimeters to inches. Okay. And it brings it little. It makes it small. 8 by 8 by 1. I'm going the full 16. So on my Y, I want 16. Okay. And then I'm going to center the model. I want it top to bottom because I'm going to end up cutting out or trimming out, him from the background. I'm going to get rid of the background, So 16 and then center and then position and import. Slide the slide bar to the bottom. Import. Okay. So there's our model. Now, important step, if you don't want the background, select it, bitmap trace, black and white, pull this until you get it's going to be solid. Don't worry about the detail of Frosty. We're not tracing the detail. We're tracing the outline. Right? So at one point when I'm white, when I click this back one click, we start to get the outline. And I'm using the roller wheel on the mouse. So 2, 3, 4, 5. And, the closer I get to my detail and everything, the better trace I'll get and all that. So I want to just come right to about here. Preview. First of all, default. I'm actually going to increase the default corner fit on this one. Noise filter. Don't need the noise filter. Turn the fading off so you can see it, but preview. There we go. Apply and close. And you can see that I got most of the detail pretty closely tight knit to the model. It picked up the snow down here, and that's fine. Got pretty close to the model and everything, but on the glove, little heavy on the glove because, I don't know, I'm a little heavy on the glove and a little heavy on the hat. But that's where node editing comes from. I can change the vectors to get a little bit closer. So that got me really well where I want to be, minus those two little areas right there. Everything else traced pretty close, pretty good. So I'm going to take my vector and I'll go to node editing, ungroup it first. Yes, I do want to ungroup it. Node editing, and I'm just going to pull this vector down a little bit. And even if I trim off a little bit of the snow on the head, I'm kind of okay with that. I don't want to trim off too much of the detail or anything, but if I trim off some of it, that's okay. And everything. So here I'm going to pull this in, and I'm going to just kind of start shaping the hand. Now here, I got to kind of pull this vector down and kind of start reshaping things, Okay, over here, fixing this, bring that back up. Again, I don't want to cut off too much, but I don't want to, like if I'm in these lighter pixels and everything here, that's fine, because I'm going to end up adding a draft to clean this up, the edges up and everything. But so if I'm in these lighter pixels, that's the outermost edge and everything, and it's fine. So let's pull this up just a little bit. Okay, right here. I'm actually going to delete that point and delete that point to bring that, in closer. Pull this in. Pull this in. Okay, I'm happy with that. I don't really, let me insert a point right here and pull that up just a little bit. We'll just do that. Okay, so now on this, if I don't want to keep the snow down here and I just want to cut him off, and I think I want to cut him off, not cut him off, but because I don't think I want the snow down there. That it's a little shadow and everything on the snow. I'm going to just cut him off right here. So what I want to do is I want to go into node editing, cut the vector right here. Cut the vector here. I'm going to join this with a smooth curve. And then I got to fix the curve, I'm good with that. Now, on this vector, right here, where this vector is and everything, I've got him outlined. I no longer need the rest of that. I've got Frosty, surrounded there. I want to make sure that it's all closed up. I'm closed up. I did good with my drawings and all. Everything's closed up there. So now select the model, select the vectors, because there's one right in there. And let me turn him off for a minute. I'll do him last, but clear everything outside of the vector away. All right, so that gets rid of that background. And then in this one, I could go a little bit bigger with that, but we'll just select the model again, and we'll clear everything inside of that one, inside. So we'll just kind of open that up a little bit right there. Now, right now, the edges are straight cut, and everything. And I need them to be a little bit smoother. I need that transition to be a little bit smoother. And you can, you can see where, I could have come up to that line a little bit more. You can see kind of right here, I could have come up and trimmed a little bit more of that off. And I still can if I wanted to and everything. You know, I can go in to sculpting and I can kind of, you know, smooth that out and everything. I can run my, let me just do it instead of telling you about it. So if I select this and I go into the sculpting, with the smooth tool, I can just come over here and start smoothing that away just like that, right? So this ridge that's right here, I can literally just smooth it away, right? Get rid of that ridge. So very fast, just a nice glance, you know, right over the edges, very fast. Whatever it touches, it'll end up smoothing out. Literally just run the mouse right over the edge and it'll smooth it. I'm only doing the edge. I don't want to smooth the inside details and everything. And I do have the smoothing strength turned up about 50%. Okay. All right. So ran over all the edges, smoothed that out. Now, click OK on that. The final step here, I'm going to add a draft. A draft takes those straight walls and angles it out slightly so we have a nice smooth transition, you know, up into the model on this straight base meat right here. It just splays it out. I like 11.5, 22, you know, degree, 22.5 as well, 30 degree, and I really don't go past that. It's up to 45, you know, but for this, I'm going to go just 11.5 or 11.5. Click apply. All that's going to do, I don't know if you saw that slight little transition there. It just bring it out. Let me do it a little bit more extreme so you can kind of see it a little bit more extreme. Let's go 22 degrees, 22.5. Click apply. Watch right in here. It'll straighten out and then it'll, boom. Okay, I don't know if you saw that, but, you know, kind of clean that out. And there's our model. Now now that I've got the edges and everything cleaned up, now I can focus on the detail. And on the detail, I just simply want to turn off the blended layer now because I created this model with the draft. That's the duplicate. And I want to, in here, let me see if I can turn this where everybody can see it. I can focus on the shape height here. Let me turn it off to hide those. I can focus on the base height. Shape height or the overall height, right? All height, right? Whatever whatever I'm looking for and everything. And so first thing first, I want to come back and undo that. Come back to and I like to focus my efforts on the detail, the shape height. That's just the top portion here. And again, I can really bring out that shape depending on what I want and all that stuff. So I'm going to bring this up to about, I got a 1-inch board, so maybe a 0.875. Okay. And there's Frosty. All right. So now let's put them in a sign and let's make something here. his boundary, I don't need his boundary anymore. I could move his boundary with him and all. We'll move it all together just because. Now, I don't like his hand being here and then this branch here. It's like he's deformed and all. So I'm actually going to remove this section of his arm. And this is going to be his arm with the little glove. Okay. And I could probably also, remove this, but we'll leave that one there. But this is driving me crazy right here. So I do want to come in here. And I probably should have done that before I did the draft. So let me turn off. Actually, I'm going to delete the draft. Delete. I'm going to just come back to the model here. The original model. Let me first, really quickly, let me put everything back where it was. Then I'm going to delete the draft. Node editing on the vector. Node editing. I'm going to cut the vector here, and I'm going to cut the vector here. I'll delete that. Join this vector with a smooth curve just to get me a line, and then I'll adjust the curve. So I'm just going to And so I'm going to have his arm come up a little bit more softer on the transition, a little bit more rounder there. His arm's going to come up and like that. Now, select the model, select the vector. Everything outside of the vector, get rid of. All right. And then I'm going to redraft that. Okay. And then I'm going to turn off the original. So I have just the draft. And now I'll put that into my sign. I just wanted to get rid of that arm. You know what I mean? Oh, we lost Ronnie. Hey, all right, cool. Hopefully you had a good visit with your daughter, Ronnie. Okay. All right, so here we go. What's a good thing for Frosty? What? Let's see. Frosty was Frosty the Snowman. What a jolly happy soul. What a jolly happy soul. Let's do that. Now, let's put jolly, happy, soul, all on different lines, because there's a reason for putting them on different lines, because when I complete this text, I can now right click and break text, break those lines into individual parts. So now what is one, and I could do, different fonts, and I could be a little creative with the fonts and everything. Each one of these are different lines of text on their own. And all right, so I'm going to make happy smaller. I'm going to use different fonts for each of these. Let's pop this over here. Soul, I'm going to make a little bit bigger. And again, I'm going to change up the fonts. Let's see here. Let's put Jolly over here. Let's put Happy right here. And then Soul kind of in the middle. And we'll scale it up a little bit more. Okay, let's go to the fonts really quickly. So let's go to the text tool. This is where having a variety of fonts that would for some creative changes and choices and stuff come in handy. And the give you some different choices and stuff. Let's see here. Oh, let me find a Jolly Happy font here. I want to, I don't want them to look too much of the same. Jolly, we'll keep Happy like that. And then Soul, I actually want Soul to be all caps. All right, so that will be our sign there. So now what has overlapping lines? So we're going to weld those together. I'll just replace them because I'm going to keep that font. Jolly Happy, everything else is good there. Okay, now on the model, I want the text raised as well as the model, and but the text is not going to be as tall as the model. It's going to be slightly lower and everything. But in order for the text to be raised, I got to mill away the entire surface of the wood, but I need to not mill away where the snowman's going to be, right? So it's got to be he's got to be where he's got to be. Now, here's the thing. 3D model, material setup, look in the model position of material, and it'll generally tell you there what your model thickness is, right? My model thickness is just under 3/8, 0.375. It's 3/658 and everything and all. So that's how deep Frosty's going to carve, right? So I need my text to, I don't want my text to be that tall. I might want my text to be about 3/16. So that means that I've got to mill away a little bit of that layer, a little bit of that surface and all. I got to kind of do a little bit of math in my head. Let me show you what I'm referring to. We're going to go ahead and create a rectangle boundary on this sign here. And on that rectangle boundary, I'm going to offset. I want to go out. I want a clean edge. I don't want any, this is borderless. I want a borderless sign here. So I need the bit to be able to go past that edge. So we're going to go slightly larger. I'll hold down the shift key. I'll just scale it all at once, just a little bit, about like that, right? And then I'll center that so it's even all the way around. And Just that little offset, right? Now, knowing that, ladies and gentlemen, you can't have clamps on the top of the board. This whole surface is getting milled away. So you got to think about like two-sided tape, CA glue, or painter's tape, CA glue, or two-sided tape, or hot glue, or other way, vacuum clamping, right? Other methods of holding, because this entire surface is getting milled away. And so the what I don't want to get milled away is old Frosty here, right? So he's got to, he needs to, that wood needs to stay right where it is. So we're going to, on the offset, remember on the model, I drafted it out 22 degrees. So this original vector doesn't account for that draft. So I need to select Frosty and I need to create a new boundary around him. And that new boundary accounts for the draft, okay? So the inside boundary is for the old original model, the new one in there. And really, at that point, you can kind of just delete the original. I don't think I need to clean them up anymore. I don't need to cut anything else off, so I'll just delete that original. And that same thing is in here. So it doesn't account for that draft originally, but now it does. So we select that in our rectangle. Here's where the math comes in. My board is set up for 1 inch thick. Frosty's 0.3658 or what have you. So that's how deep that material is going to get milled all the way off. So Frosty stands up proud. And in reverse, from there up, how tall do I want my text? I'd like to have my text, let's say 3/16, right? About half the size of what Frosty is on the height. So that model height here, 0.3658, that's how deep all of that's going to carve for Frosty. Think about my text sitting on that new plane down there, and from there, I want 3/16 tall text. So 0.3658 minus the 0.1875 is how deep I need to cut my pocket. So here we go. So pocket cut, and I'll be darned if I didn't forget that number already. 0.3658. Pocket cut. 0.3658 minus 0.1875, how tall I want my text to be. Everything else above that, around outside of Frosty, of course, gets milled away. Hit the equal key on the keyboard. So I'm cutting down 0.1783. I'll use a 1/4 inch end mill. I could use a larger end mill for time's sake as well. I could use a 1/2 inch and a 1/4 and all that, or a 1/4 and an 1/8, or whatever the case, whatever the combination. But I'm a 1/4 inch end mill, and then I'm also going to use. I don't need to be all stressing about, oh, it can't get down to here, because my 3D cut will clean all the edges up and all. So the 1/4 inch end mill will be fine for this. And again, for time's sake, if I wanted to go faster, the bigger the bit, the faster it's going to be, right? I'm milling this whole surface off. I could even use a surface planing bit to do a majority of it and all that stuff. But for right now, we'll just set it up for a 1/4. It's going to do it in 2 passes. Let's do it as a raster. I want to cut with the grain. I like to keep it clean. So let's calculate this. Let's preview this visible toolpath. Let's turn off the black color, and here's what we got, okay? So now my text is going to start here, okay? That's the top of my text. Now my text needs to cut down from there, needs to cut down to where it is that 3658, the size of Frosty. I keep forgetting that number. Let me go back and find that number again. 3658. Let me write that down. 0.3658. Excuse me. So I've already cut the pocket down. This is important. The text, I got to select the text. I got to select the boundary. That's what gives me the raised text. And I also got to select around Frosty because, you know, that wood's got to stay there too. And it's a V-carve toolpath, ladies and gentlemen. This one's a V-carve. And on the V-carve toolpath, we've already milled away that point. Let's look at our pocket cut. That point 1783 is already gone. So on my V-carve toolpath, we'll start 0.1783. And we're going to cut down whatever the difference is for it to equal 3568, which is that 3/16 that I want in my text, right? So we're going to go down another 0.1875. Those two numbers added together let me bear with me a second. 1783. It likes to round up my numbers. 0.1783. Flat depth is 0.18. Look at that. 3. I want to stay in there for right now. It'll round it up when I'm not looking. 0.1875. And if we added those two numbers together, 0.1875 plus 0.1783 equals should be our 3658, right? Cool beans. Okay, so calculate. Well, hold on. 60-degree V-bit. I want a 60-degree on this one. I will use a 1/4 inch and an 1/8 inch end mill on this to get around nice and tight in some of the letters and all that stuff. So look at that. It rounded everything up. It'll round it up. I fight with it knowing that it's going to round up, but I still fight with it. All right, here we go. Let's calculate that. All right, so now preview the visible toolpath. Okay, so that's going to be my text. That'll be my text there. Okay. Now for old Frosty here, we just have Frosty selected. It's going to be a 3D rough cut. We'll use a 1/4 inch end mill using the selected vector as the boundary. Going to do a 3D raster. We'll cut with the grain, so raster angle of 0. We'll calculate that and preview that visible toolpath. Okay, so that's the rough cut. And let me see if that was a Z-level raster. Z-level raster, ladies and gentlemen, not a 3D raster. Z-level raster. So let me undo that last. Preview that visible toolpath. I only want to take off what needs to be taken off. I don't need to try to do a whole 3D cut with my end mill. Final cut. This is the important part. 3D finish, but I need the bit to go past the line. I need the bit to go past the line so it blends in with the pocket. So, or the, you know, with the bottom of my level of this flat area here, I need it to blend it in and everything. So we're going to go past the line. That's called a boundary offset. And I'm going to go about 1/8 of an inch. Let it go past about 1/8 of an inch. So I'll use a 1/8 inch tapered ball nose will be fine. There's not a whole lot of detail in Frosty, so the 1/8 inch will be fine. 16th will be better, right? You know, that kind of thing. But we can do just the 1/8 inch will be good. There's not a whole lot of detail on them. Using the selected vector as a boundary, letting it go past the boundary by 1/8 of an inch. We could probably go a little bit more. I mean, we got plenty of room around them, but let's calculate that. Okay. Let's preview what we're looking at here. Preview the visible toolpath. And it should blend out cleanly. There we go. All the way out. There should be no ridges and everything. And let's get into view there. There's our sign. What do you think? Right? Did I hit my mute button? Can everybody hear me? Y'all hear? Can y'all hear me? Issue on
Yeah,
mic fixed.
we
Okay,
got
Michael.
you. We got you, Lance.
Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry. I saw issue. I didn't see the issue on my end, and I just saw that I can't hear you. Okay. Wonderful. But there you go. So we literally from scratch went over to use Galaxy AI, and the Galaxy AI, ladies and gentlemen, is $15 a month for over 3,000 different AI tools. Right? It's a phenomenal price and everything, but we went into the Illustrator tool within Galaxy AI and told it to make a Frosty, right? I like the headshot of Frosty, the close up and everything versus the far scene, and everything. So a headshot of Frosty, and it did give me the body, but using the word headshot kind of, in a sense, I could have used the word close up too. A close up of Frosty the Snowman. I could have used that terminology as well. But we created that illustration. We sized up the illustration with the upscaler. We went into the image editor and made the grayscale image using our little prompt and make the grayscale. And then we took it over to that Sculpt OK, and that Sculpt OK there's you can do the free version, and you can make about 20 models a month for free without paying a dime. I do pay for the upgraded version. It's $19 a month. I pay for that as part of my business expense. I pay for Sculpt OK, the $19 a month, and but you can with the free version you can do like 20 a month, and heck, if you sell one of these, it pays for itself. But anyhow, so we made the model, brought the model in, got rid of the background, traced it, got rid of the background, trimmed it away. If you had VCarve Pro, you could still do all of this whole sign. You could do this entire sign. The only two things you couldn't do is as far as removing the background, you can't delete the background, but you can use clipping. You can draw that vector right around Frosty like we did. You can trace it and you can clip it, and it'll only keep what's in the vector, which is Frosty, and it'll get rid of everything else. It's called clipping. It's in the levels here. So you would put Frosty in the component tree here, and on that level, you come down and clipping, and you apply clipping. You select the vector and you apply clipping, and it'll get rid of that whole background, just like we did. In Aspire, I was able to delete the background, but in VCarve Desktop and VCarve Pro, I just have to clip it away, meaning make it invisible. With it invisible, I can... Who did I put to sleep? What was that? I put someone to sleep. Night. All right. Anyhow, on the Frosty, you won't, if you have Desktop Pro, you won't be able to do the draft or the sculpting, but you can apply a smoothing filter. So the tool for smoothing in VCarve Pro is the smoothing tool. So it'll just smooth all the edges all at once instead of using the sculpting tool. So Desktop and Pro don't have the sculpting tool, but it does have the smoothing tool, so you can smooth those edges. We weren't able to. You wouldn't be able to do a draft. The Desktop and Pro don't have the drafting tool, but that's okay. The smoothing tool will take care of the edges and clean them up. You don't need the draft. And then text, vectors, figure out how tall we want, because you can change the height just like we did. You can change the height and everything. All that's doable in Desktop and Pro as well too, changing the height. So we made it, that 0.3658. We scaled it up a little bit. And then the pocket cut milled away all the material down to this, that 0.1783. It just took that excess material off around. Not Frosty. He had to stay there. But because I wanted the text to be slightly, half the size of Frosty's height, kind of thing. And mill that away. Then we do our V-carve text, starting at that 1783 and going another 3/16, right? How tall my text is. So we get down to that pocket, and that full depth of cut is how tall the model is, right? Frosty was 3658.3658, and that's how deep our cut is. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, at the bottom right-hand side, when I hover my mouse over here, you'll see that very tiny text. Let me see if I can go bigger for a second, guys. We're gonna go bigger for a minute. Right down in the corner down here, right down where the mouse is in the corner, we can see that Z says negative 3.3658, right? So that's how deep that was, you know, and that's it. And so with that, there's your sign. All right, so here's the cool part for you folks. Here's the cool part for you folks. We're going to do this two ways for you. I'm going to take and export. I'm going to change my model resolution to maximum resolution. Pump it up. I'm going to that just improves its quality a little bit more. I'm going to take and export Frosty out as an STL model. Give it a second. Okay. We're going to export or save that triangulation. I'm going to save it in downloads, a new folder. We'll call this Frosty sign. Put it in there. We'll call this one just Frosty. This will be just the model for you guys. Frosty the snowman. So we'll save that model. So you got that model you can use. And then we'll come back to the sign. We'll take the vectors. You guys can create your own Frosty vector, but we'll create the vectors for the text in case y'all want that. We'll export that out. For those of you that don't have version 10.5, we'll export that out as a DXF. This will be the text vectors. And then as a whole, we'll go File, Save As, and we'll save it as a VCarve project. So if you have VCarve Desktop or Pro, you can open it up. Frosty sign. And that's fine. And then we'll export it out, or File, Save As, and we'll save it as an Aspire file. Frosty sign. All right, and then we'll open up this toolpath that'll highlight these vectors. Let's make it bigger. And we'll go into the snipping tool. New. Take a picture of that screenshot. save this as the main pocket toolpath preview. Lord of mercy, where'd that, hold on, where'd that word pocket come from? Pocket toolpath. That way you can see what vectors were selected and what the settings were for the toolpath. We'll close that one, open up this one, which is 3 of them, all 3 of those. New, take a picture, save that as the V-carve toolpath. V-carve toolpath. And the V-carve toolpath covers that one, and that one. So then the 3D rough, snap a photo. Save that as the 3D rough toolpath. And then the 3D finish. So these are these toolpaths, what these pictures are. It shows you what vector is selected and then what the toolpath settings were, right? So you can just kind of reference that. If you don't have 12.5 and you got to import the vectors and you got to lay it out all on your own again, and you can't just open the project file, it will, you can lay it out and you can just take the reference from the photos. All right, so with that, we now have a folder in our downloads called Frosty. We will right click and compress that Frosty sign. I will open up another tab for the Google Drive where we store all of our files, Spindle TV files. We will upload that to the Drive folder. We will open up a direct download link generator. Other bookmarks, Google Direct Drive link generator. And here in just a second, give it just a second, and we'll I'll paste the download link in the chat. You can click on that and download that whole work folder of everything. Good times. All right, now, just so you know, I did post in the Spindle TV exclusive group about a project pack, the Christmas project pack. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different models in there, 3D models. And then there's 2 V-carve projects. And there's a series of vectors as well, too. But that is, I do have that for sale for $35. It was originally $175, but I've got it discounted for everybody for $35 for all of those models and everything. I'll show you. So a little V-carve sign away in a manger, the Merry Christmas model with a frame, without a frame, the welcome Santa in a wreath. These are door hangers, by the way. They're big, or whatever size you want to make them. Rudolph, the Rudolph welcome sign. You guys have that sign already for free, that one. And then besides that, there are the where are they at? There are the I'm the naughty elf, little Christmas sign away in a manger. Let's see, we got to go the other way. It's all fun and games till Santa checks the naughty list. I'm definitely on it. that kind of thing. So those little projects and all, if you did, the links are out there. They're in the community chat. They're also in the group and all if you wanted to ever purchase those or anything. It just helps support the channel. That's all it does. All right. Our model is ready. Give me 2 seconds to give you the link. What I call it, Frosty. Frosty, where you at? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Share. Anyone with the link. Copy. Paste. Generate. Copy. All right, here you go. In the chat. Paste. There, that link that's the link to that little Frosty the Snowman project pack that I just made for you. So click that link to download. All right, now, in the interim, Kool-Aid says, how do you delete the background in Aspire? Okay, so let me just show that once again. So we took Frosty, and let's just, for a second here, bring this over and import Frosty again really quickly. All right, so this image, this import right here, this is Frosty with the background. So let me show you what that looks like. And let's scale it down, center it, and make it 16 inches tall. Apply. Import. Slide this down. Import. All right. There's 2 ways that you could do this. Here, I'll show you both ways if you have Desktop and Pro and if you have Aspire, okay? So first things first is you click on the model with the background and you go to create a trace a bitmap like you're tracing an image. Change it to black and white. And then what you're doing is you're getting the outline of the Frosty. And I'm actually going to kind of minimize it this time so I get more of the hand in there this time. We'll do like that. You're going to whatever you want as far as you know, your filters and all, but we're going to preview that, and that's going to create the vector line. Okay, it's going to create the vector line. Now on this vector line, once it's in there, I closed up his bottom here by going into node editing mode, cutting the vector here and here, and joining that line back with a smooth curve. Let me get rid of this first. All right, reselect that. Join with a smooth curve. Now, it drew a funky curve. Go into node editing and fix it. Smooth it out. So we're going to drag it back down. Take those anchors and just get it outlined to Frosty's bottom side, you know. All right. Now that we have a vector surrounding Frosty and everything, we select the model. Here's the removal part. And let me really quickly, what I did earlier is in node editing, I fixed this vector right here to to be closer on the hands. I did a little node editing. Now I'm not going to node edit this one this time. I'm actually going to cut the vector because it's going to be a little bit faster for me. And I'm going to cut the vector here. I'm going to delete that vector and I'm just going to use the freehand draw tool I'm going to hold down the control key and I'm going to snap there and I'm going to freehand draw. And I'll outline his hand. Okay. And then I'll go into node editing and fix that little bit right there. All right. So now that we have a vector, make sure it is closed up. Make sure it's all joined together. Let's go to the join tool real quick. And it is closed. That's good. Here's the removal part. Kool-Aid. Select your model. Select the vector. In Aspire, clear everything outside of the selected vector. This button right here. Click that and it'll remove the background. So that's Aspire. Okay. That's Aspire. Here's VCarve Desktop and Pro. Let's hit undo. Undo. Here's Desktop and Pro. So now 3D view, look at the 3D view. There's the background. Come over here to the component layer and everything. And this top one right here. I need him in its own layer. I got the other Frosty in this layer. So let's make a different layer level. I keep saying layer, but it's level. Let me put them up there. All right. So level 2, which is this guy right here, this one. Select the vector. Go to the word level 2 and right click. Go down to clipping and apply. Now in the 2D view, nothing happens. It's still going to be visible in the 2D view, but the 2D view doesn't matter. What matters is the 3D view. It gets rid of it in 3D view. Okay. This is what the toolpaths are generated off of, not the 2D view. Okay. So if I turn off the clipping, remove, there's the board. If I apply the clipping, there's the remove, right? That's in Pro. Awesome. Thanks for the super chat, dude. Thank you for the 20 bucks. I appreciate that, man. That's awesome. All right, Kool-Aid. Well, hopefully that helps. So that's Desktop and Pro. Clip it away. Now, remember what I said in Desktop and Pro, you can't do sculpting and you can't do the draft, but you can absolutely do the smoothing tool. First of all, you got to select the component. You can do the smoothing tool and you can apply a minimal amount, max, whatever, amount you want. Don't go too crazy, maybe like a quarter there. Give it a second and it'll go through and, smooth the edges and everything, just depending on, what you do. Now over here and actually let's go right about here and hit OK. And then I'll go through and it'll smooth out the edges. And the only thing you won't be able to do is the draft, that draft angle, but it's not required. Draft angle is not needed. There, it's not a requirement. If you want to be able to do a draft angle, upgrade to a Aspire, right? But no, it's not necessary. The draft angle it does the same thing, kind of smooths out the edges, but that's what the smoothing tool does. And you could be aggressive on your smoothing or, a little bit. I only went like a third of the way on that smoothing tool, but that's it. So that is how you clip away the background in Aspire or Desktop or Pro. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again, Kool-Aid, for the super chat. That really helps. Definitely. I will use that for sure. But hopefully you got something out of tonight, and but there's you did get a project out of it, right? So you got a cool project that the sign and all that stuff. But Galaxy AI is not a bad investment, if you're making and selling signs and all. That $15 a month, it ends up from yourselves and all, it kind of pays for it. It's part of that overhead and all that stuff. But there's 33,000 plus different modeling tools in there, from video making to photo editing to photo making to everything, everything and everything. And it's just you literally now, I could take that sign once again, looking at our, let me close this, go back in here, look at the sign. That file, the file alone, plus you get 15 million credits every month. They just keep building up, if you don't use them all. And you can go to there and you can get free credits by clicking on the free credits and doing a little spin thing. But anyhow, this file right here that I just gave y'all, I could upload the vector files and the model file, this sign file right here, put it as a digital download for $5, $10, $20, $30, whatever I think the file's worth or whatever. And it becomes a vending machine of income. Every time another CNCer, purchases that project file, so they can make and carve it and all that stuff, it just becomes a vending machine of income, and it pays for itself. And you saw, we literally went through and we literally generated the illustration to make the model, to make the sign and everything. And hell, it could have been, you could have done a Shelby, Mustang GT, 1965 Shelby Mustang GT model of a car, driving down the highway, or it could have been a reindeer running over grandma. I don't care what it is. That illustration could have been anything that we turned into a model to turn into a sign. And hell, you don't even have to make it a model. You could create that illustration, and you could go into the editor and turn it into a black and white file to trace and do a V carve on. Lots and lots of possibilities for the projects and things that you could make, and it pays for itself in that instance. But the Sculpt OK and all that, there's not a free version that I'm aware of the Galaxy AI, but the Sculpt OK, the free version, you could absolutely make 20 models a month, kind of thing. So I pay the $19 a month, and it pays for itself time and time again. All right, ladies and gentlemen, y'all have a wonderful evening. Keep this in mind now. For Digital Woodcarver and everything, I run a 24-hour call center Monday through Saturday, all year long. And I do take the last, Christmas and up to New Year's, I do take that last 2 weeks off. It's my end of the year time to decompress from everything, from all, I'm on the phone 15 to 17 hours a day with customer support calls and training calls and this and that and all. So coming soon here in the next, week or so, there's not going to be any Spindle TV exclusive classes or Thursday night classes and all for the last, couple of weeks of December. And we'll restart again and with the live classes and all, back in the first week of January and stuff. But I will be closing myself off to the world for a little while to just decompress and kind of regroup and get ready for the next year, right? So we are only in the 11th, and so next week we will have a members only class. But then after that, there will not be a class until January 8th. Okay, so we'll come back January 8th for that Thursday night class and all. But we'll have a class next week. But then the classes will be closed down until January 8th. All right, y'all have there's going to be a live event tomorrow and everything. So y'all have a wonderful evening. Thanks again. Enjoy your weekend coming. And Kool-Aid, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate you, man. and we appreciate you all. So thank you for being exclusive members. It really helps me, especially this time of year when I got to buy my daughter a Christmas present. All right. See you later, guys. Y'all have a wonderful evening.